Tell me and I forget. Teach me and I remember. Involve me and I learn. With this beautiful thought, a very good morning to all my dear students. I hope that you are in good health. I, Shreya Jadhav, welcome you all to my e-learning channel. And today we are going to learn English, grade 12, chapter 4, The Red Trap, written by Selma Lagerlof. So, before going through the reading and explanation of the chapter, let us know something about the author. Selma Lagerlof, born on 20th November 1858, died on 16th March 1940. Selma was a Swedish author and teacher. She published her first novel at the age of 33. She was the first woman to win the Nobel Prize in Literature, which was awarded in 1909. She was the first woman to be granted a membership in the Swedish Academy in 1914. Setting. A universal theme runs through all of them, a belief that the essential goodness in a human being can be awakened through understanding and love. This story is set amidst the mines of Sweden, rich in iron ore, which figure large in the history and legends of that country. This story is somewhat in a manner of a fairy tale. Introduction for answer. Dear students, whenever you write down your answers, always remember to start your answers with introduction. This creates a good impact. Prose. Prose name The Red Trap. Author's name Selma Lagerlof. Genre short story. Summary. This story is set amidst the mines of Sweden, rich in iron ore, which figure large in the history and legends of that country. This story is somewhat in a manner of fairy tale. So, this is chapter 4 part 2 video. In the previous video, we have gone through the story. So, today, first I'll give you a brief summary of what we have done in the previous lecture or in the previous video, and then we shall start with the reading and explanation of the chapter. So, let us begin with the summary of the chapter studied till now. Once upon a time, a vagabond peddler went selling small red traps. He made them from the material he got by begging. He did not make much money, so he had to beg and steal to survive. His clothes were in rags. His cheeks were sunken and hunger shone in his eyes. One day, as he sat thinking about red traps, a funny thought came in his mind that the world itself was a big red trap. It offered comforts and joys, just like the red trap offered cheese and pork as bait to the rats. As soon as a rat was tempted to touch the bait, it trapped him. On a dark evening, as he was walking slowly along the road, he went to a small grey cottage to request for some food and shelter for the night. The owner, who had once been a crofter living on a small farm, invited him in. He lived all alone and was happy to get someone to talk to. He spoke about his personal life also to the peddler. He informed that during his prosperous days he worked at Ramshaw Iron's work. Now his cow supported him. He also said that he had earned 30 kroners by selling the cow's milk. He also showed him the money and then put it in a pouch near the door. The peddler got a share of the porridge, some tobacco, and his pipe, and a good night's sleep. The crofter got up early to milk his cow, so the peddler was forced to get up early and leave with him. However, half an hour later, the peddler returned. He went to the window, smashed a pan, and took out the 30 kroner from the pouch. And he put the pouch back and went away. The peddler was quite pleased with his smartness. He avoided the public highway and turned into the forest wood, as he felt he would be safer and no one would be able to catch him. It was a big and confusing forest. He tried to walk in a definite direction, but the paths twisted back and forth so strangely that he was confused. He walked on and soon realized that he had been walking around the same part of the forest. At all once he recalled his thoughts about the world being a rat trap. Now his own turn had come. He had let himself be fooled by the bait and had been caught in a rat trap. The entire forest, with the trees and trunks and branches, seemed to him like a prison that offered no escape. Finally, the peddler was exhausted. He thought he would die. Just then he heard the sound of the regular thumping of a hammer. He realized that the sound was coming from an iron mill. He summoned all his strength and walked in that direction. He reached the Ramshaw Iron Works. He entered the iron works amidst the different sounds coming from the work going in full swing. People like him would come to the forge for some warmth and shelter. The master blacksmith rather haughtily granted him permission to stay. When the ironmaster came to the forge for his inspection and noticed the peddler, he mistook him to be a soldier friend from the army. He thought that the peddler was Niels Olof. The peddler didn't try to clarify, as he thought he might get some money. The ironmaster invited him home. The peddler thought he would walk into the lion's den if he went, so he declined the invitation. The ironmaster assumed that the man was feeling embarrassed because of his poor condition. He started talking about his home and said that his wife Elizabeth was dead. His sons were living and have settled down in abroad, and he was living with his daughter Edla. The ironmaster went away and sent his daughter to convince the peddler. When Edla came to the iron works, she found the man alarmed and frightened. So this is the summary what we have done in the previous lecture. Now let us take the reading and explanation of the chapter. It was not more than half an hour before they heard the sound of carriage wheels outside the forge, and a new guest came in. But this time it was not the iron master. He had sent his daughter, apparently hoping that she would have better power of pursuing than he himself. She entered, followed by a valet, carrying on his arm a big fur coat. She was not at all pretty, but seemed modest and quite shy. In the forge, everything was just as it had been earlier in the evening. The master blacksmith and his apprentice still sat on their bench, and the iron charcoal still glowed in the furnace. The stranger had stretched himself out on the floor and lay with a piece of iron or pig iron under his head and his hat pulled over his eyes. As soon as the young girl caught sight of him, she went up and lifted his head. The man was evidently used to be sleeping with one eye open. He jumped up abruptly and seemed to be quite frightened. So what happened? That, as you all know, that the iron master was unable to convince, he sent his daughter to convince the peddler. When Edla came, she was not that beautiful or pretty, but she was a very shy and a modest girl. Her dressing was up to the mark. She went in the meal at that time. The blacksmith and all were indulged in their work, and then her eyes caught a sight of the peddler, who was sleeping down with a piece of pig iron under his head, and his head was covered with the face, or his face was covered with the hat. Eventually, when she took off the hat, the peddler was quite frightened and taken aback. He was alarmed. "My name is Edla Wilmanson," she said, the young girl. "My father came home and said that you wanted to sleep here in the forge tonight, and then I asked permission to come and bring you home to us. I am so sorry, Captain, that you are having such a hard time." She looked at him compassionately with her heavy eyes, and then she noticed that the man was afraid. Either he has stolen something, or else he has escaped from jail. She thought and added quickly, "You may be sure, Captain, that you will be allowed to leave us just as freely as you came. Only please stay with us over Christmas Eve." She said this in such a friendly manner that the red trap peddler must have felt confidence in her. "It would never have occurred to me that you would bother with me yourself, miss," he said. "I will come at once." So here Edla is trying to comfort him. She somehow sensed that his fear conveyed that he was either a thief or on a run or have been an escaped prisoner. Still, she was very friendly and kind to him. The peddler agreed and accepted the invitation to spend Christmas at their place. He accepted the fur coat which the valet handed him with a deep bow, threw it over his rags, and followed the young lady out to the carriage, without granting the astonished blacksmith so much as a glance. But while he was riding to the manor house, he had evil foreboding. Why the devil did I take that fellow's money? He thought. Now I am in the trap and will never get out of it. The next day was Christmas Eve. When the ironmaster came into the dining room for breakfast, he probably thought with satisfaction of his old regimental comrade whom he had run across so unexpectedly. First of all, we must see to it that he gets a little flesh on his bones, he said to his daughter, who was busy at the table. And then we must see that he gets something else to do than to run around the country selling red traps. It is queer that things have done downhill with him as badly as that, said the daughter. Last night I did not think there was anything about him to show that he had once been an educated man. You must have patience, my little girl, said the father. As soon as he gets clean and dressed up, you will see something different. Last night he was naturally embarrassed. The tramp manners will fall away from him with tramp clothes. Just as he said this, the door opened and the stranger entered. Yes, now he was truly clean and well dressed. The valet had bathed him, cut his hair, and shaved him. Moreover, he was dressed in good-looking suit of clothes which belonged to the ironmaster. He wore a white shirt and a starched collar and whole shoes. But although his guest was now so well groomed, the ironmaster did not seem pleased. He looked at him with puckered brow, and it was easy to understand that when he had seen the strange fellow in the uncertain reflection from the furnace, he might have made a mistake. But that now, when he stood there in broad daylight, it was impossible to mistake him for an old acquaintance. What does this mean? He thundered. The stranger made no attempt to dissimulate. He saw at once that the splendor had come to an end. It was not my fault, sir, he said. I never pretended to be anything but a poor trader, and I pleaded and begged to be allowed to stay in the forge. But no harm has been done. At worst, I can put my own rags again and go away. Well, said the ironmaster, hesitating a little, it was not quite honest either. You must admit that, and I should not be surprised if the sheriff would like to have something to say in the matter. The next day was an Christmas Eve. The ironmaster was happy that he would be spending time with his old friend. He told Edla that they needed to find him well and provide him with a better business than selling red traps. Edla said that she was doubtful about the peddler, as he didn't display the slightest sign of being educated. However, the ironmaster told her to have some patience. Just then the doctor op- just then the door opened and the stranger entered the room. He was now well groomed, bathed and shaved. He was wearing clothes which belonged to the ironmaster. The ironmaster realized that the tramp was not his friend. The peddler made no attempt to lie any longer. He explained that he never said that he was his old comrade, that was Niles Olof. He had even pleaded and begged for not coming to the manor house. He added that no harm had been done and he would not put on or he could put on his rags and would leave the house also. The ironmaster said that the peddler had not been very honest and he would take him to sheriff. The tramp took a step forward and struck the table with his fist. Now I am going to tell you, Mr. Ironmaster, how things are, he said. This whole world is nothing but a big rat trap. All the good things that are offered to you are nothing but cheese, rinds, and bits of pork set out to drag a poor fellow into trouble. And if the sheriff comes now and locks me up for this, then you, Mr. Ironmaster, must remember that a day may come when you yourself may want to get a big piece of pork, and then you will get caught in the trap. The ironmaster began to laugh. This was not so badly said, my good fellow. Perhaps we should let the sheriff alone on the Christmas Eve. But now get out of here as fast as you can. But just as the man was opening the door, the daughter said, I think he ought to stay with us today. I don't want him to go. And with that, she went and closed the door. What in the world are you doing? Said the father. The daughter stood there quite embarrassed and hardly knew what to answer. That morning she had felt so happy when she thought how homelike and Christmassy she was going to make things for the poor hungry wretch. She would not get away from the idea all at once, and that was why she was interceded for the vagabond. I am thinking of the stranger here, said the young girl. He walks and walks the whole year long, and there is probably not a single place in the whole country where he is welcome and can feel at home. Whenever he turns, he is chased away. Always he is afraid of being arrested and cross examined. I should like to have him enjoy a day of peace with us here. Just one in the whole year. The ironmaster mumbled something in his beard. He could not bring himself to oppose her. It was all a mistake, of course, she continued. But anyway, I don't think we ought to chase away a human being whom we had asked to come here and to whom we have promised Christmas cheer. You do preach worse than a parson, said the ironmaster. I only hope you won't have to regret this. The young girl took the stranger by the hand and led him to the table. Now sit down and eat, she said, for she would see that her father had given in. The man with the red trap said not a word. He only sat down and helped himself to the food. Time after time, he looked at the young girl who had interceded for him. Why had she done it? What would be the crazy idea be? The peddler got agitated for a bit. He said that the world was like a big rat trap, and someday the ironmaster would also be tempted to touch the bait and would be doomed. The ironmaster started laughing. The ironmaster wanted the peddler to leave, but Edla wanted him to stay back. She felt that they had promised him food and company for Christmas, and it would be wrong to send him away. The peddler was surprised by this gesture. Edla further added that the peddler must have been through a bad time, as he was always chased away. He would not even sleep fearlessly. The ironmaster gave up. After that, Christmas Eve at Ramschow passed just as it always had. The stranger did not cause any trouble because he did nothing but sleep. The whole forenoon he lay on the sofa in one of the guest rooms and slept at one stretch. At noon they woke him up so that he could have his share of good Christmas fare. But after that he slept again. It seemed as though for many years he had not been able to sleep as quietly and safely as here in Ramschow. In the evening, when the Christmas tree was lighted, they woke him up again, and he stood for a while in the drawing room, blinking as though the candlelight hurt him. But after that, he disappeared again. 2 hours later, he was aroused once more. He then had to go down into the dining room and eat the Christmas fish and porridge. As soon as they got up from the table, he went around to each one present and said, "Thank you and good night." But when he came to young girl, she gave him to understand that it was her father's intention that the suit which he wore was to be a Christmas present. He did not have to return it, and if he wanted to spend next Christmas Eve in the place where he would rest in peace and be sure that no evil would befall him, he would be welcomed back again. The man with the red traps did not answer anything to this. He only stared at the young girl in boundless amazement. The next morning, the ironmaster and his daughter got up in good season to go to the early Christmas service. Their guest was still asleep and they did not want him to disturb. So now what happened? The peddler was allowed to stay on for Christmas, but the only thing he did was he slept for the whole day very soundly. Once or twice he was told to get up to have the food. The ironmaster and Edla gifted him the suit that he was wearing as a Christmas present. He told him that he was welcome to spend even the next Christmas with them. The peddler kept staring at her in surprise. The next morning, the ironmaster and his daughter went to the church for Christmas service, leaving the peddler at home. When at about 10 o'clock they drove back from the church, the young girl sat and hung her head even more dejectedly than usual. At church, she had learned that one of the old crofters of the ironworks had been robbed by a man who went around selling rat traps. "Yes, that was a fine fellow you let into the house," said her father. "I only wonder how many silver spoons are left in the cupboard by this time." The wagon had hardly stopped at the front steps when the ironmaster asked the valet whether the stranger was still there. He added that he had heard at church that the man was a thief. The valet answered that the fellow had gone and that he had not taken anything with him at all. On the contrary, he had left behind a little package which Miss Wilmanson was to be kind enough to accept as a Christmas present. The young girl opened the package, which was so badly done that the contents came into view at once. She gave a little cry of joy. She found a small red trap, and in it lay three wrinkled 10 kroner notes. But that was not all. In that red trap lay also a letter written in large, jagged character. Honored and noble Miss, since you have been so nice to me all day long, as if I was a captain, I want to be nice to you in return, as if I was a real captain, for I do not want you to be embarrassed at this Christmas season by a thief, but you can give back the money to the old man on the roadside, who has the money pouch hanging on the window frame as a bait for poor wanderers. The rat trap is a Christmas present from a rat who would have been caught in the world's rat trap if he had not been raised to a captain, because in that way he got power to clear himself. Written with friendship and high regard, Captain von Stell. So, at the end, when they returned home, and Edla was very sad. At the church, they had learnt that the red trap peddler had robbed an old crofter who once worked at their Ramschow iron works. The ironmaster was angry. They thought that by the time they would reach home, the peddler would have escaped with all their silvers and valuable things. When they got home, the ironmaster asked the valet if the peddler was still there. The valet informed that the fellow had left, but he had not taken anything with him. Instead, he had left something for Edla. When she opened the package, she found the red trap and three wrinkled 10 kroner notes and a letter. The peddler had written that since Edla had treated him like a real captain, he also wanted to be nice to her. He wanted the money to be returned to the old crofter. He further wrote that he would not have been able to escape the red trap if he had not been raised to the status of a captain. He even signed the letter as Captain von Stell. He had become a changed person. So, this is all about the chapter The Red Trap. I hope you all have understood the chapter. Thank you for watching and have a nice day. If you still find any doubt or difficulties, you can comment down in the comment section. Thank you.